Yellowstone Supervolcano is trembling from Idaho earthquakes. Does that mean that there's an eruption looming? Today's quakes shake volcano yet again. And they were not that big. They were 4 magnitude, 20 minutes later 4 magnitude, and an aftershock a little bit later 3.5 magnitude. These were just the earthquakes above 2.5 magnitude. But you remember that we initially had some activity which was very strange. It started with, this is by the way craters of the moon. This is the aerial of craters of the moon. It's a beautiful lava flow, as you can see. And we'll look at the volcanoes of Idaho. But let's remember that we have, and some more pictures coming up. These are all of this is a beautiful crater. You can see that. That's craters of the moon in Idaho, about 180 miles west of Yellowstone Supervolcano. And we'll see a map as to the fact that the mantle plume that feeds into Yellowstone runs under Utah and Salt Lake City. It comes from Baja, California, runs into Utah from from Baja into Utah, then up into Yellowstone, then turns west into Idaho. And this is again lava flows from the Idaho lava field. And this is you can see there, that Baja, California, and this is the flow of the Snake River Plain coming into the area of Yellowstone. Steamboat Geyser, eruptions really peaking, and this is again the flow from Baja through Utah into Yellowstone and going west into Idaho. Now, Idaho, and let's take a look together so you can have an idea of what's going on today. A picture is worth 1,000 words. One of the magnitude 4 quakes that we had, oh, it wasn't 3.5, it was three, sorry. This is this one here. This is the 4 magnitude Stanley, Idaho. And these, as we said, are the ones just above 2.5. I don't have all of them mapped, otherwise it would all be full of earthquakes. So we took this one. And this is the plot USGS, and I'll leave a link below for you for this. The red squiggles are the faults. This is Yellowstone Lake. And this here, that Z is Hebgen Lake. That's where they had the 7.5 magnitude on August 17th in 1959 with a landslide and everything. So this area here is all Yellowstone Supervolcano. Now if you extrapolate the intensities of these shake lines, obviously it shook Yellowstone, even though it was only 4 magnitude. I mean, don't take the fact that because of the fact that the intensity in the shake map stops there, that the shake lines don't go into Yellowstone. They do. So that's it right there. That's the supervolcano, and this is Idaho. Now, if we pan out, I panned out too much. Okay, this is Salt Lake. Salt Lake City is right here. Salt Lake City had a 5.7 magnitude earthquake on March 18. And then about 2 weeks later, on the night of March 31st to April 1st, they had a 6.5 magnitude earthquake here in north of Boise, Idaho, in the same area that we're having our quake swarm in Idaho. Okay, so that's 2 weeks later. This is, as we said before, the area of the mantle plume coming from Baja, California, that we saw. That's an imaginary 7. Goes like this and like this. So the western arm goes under San Andreas Fault and Hayward Faults, the Walker Lane Fault System, and the eastern part forks off like a big Y. The eastern part forks off into this area of Utah, Salt Lake, where we had the 5.7 on March 18, and then it feeds Yellowstone, which is a supervolcano. It's supposed to be the second biggest under supervolcano on Earth. Some say it's the biggest. Anyway, there's about 20 plus, if not 22 or more, supervolcanoes on the Earth. This is one of them, monitored very well. And that mantle plume goes into the west, as we saw before in the map. So this is our shake map area. Let's go to the volcanoes of Idaho. Volcanoes of Idaho, 9 volcanoes in Idaho. This is Wyoming right there. That's Yellowstone Lake. And that's Boise, this is where we're having our recent earthquakes right there, all around here. Okay, let's go to our map and go to our topographic, and you can see that's the Snake River. That's the Snake River plain, and go to our area of Idaho. Okay, you can see all of this area has been shaken by this. Let's pull out again. Okay, and pull out again. We pulled out too much. Anyway, it's around that area. I'm not going to go into maybe. Okay, bear with me. Okay, sorry about that. So as you can see, this whole area is full of volcanoes. Some of these are said that they are probably extinct because even extinct volcanoes have come back to life. One of the recent ones being in the Kamchatka Peninsula of Russia. It was not even put on the list. At least these are on the list. One of the volcanoes that was considered extinct on the Kamchatka Peninsula of Russia was not even put on the list of volcanoes, and it was found to be full to the brim with lava. People had to be evacuated from that area because it was about to blow. So this is the area of our lava line. There's magma under there, and some of these are scores. Shoshone Volcano, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 5. Normal or dormant, normal or dormant. And this is Yellowstone Lake, that's Hebgen Lake, and this is Salt Lake right there. So 9 volcanoes, if not more. And I'll leave a link below for you so you can look into this area. And that's Crater of the Moon that we saw pictures of before. Okay, and over 60 lava flows in that area. 25 cinder cones, and craters of the moon formed in 8 eruptive periods lasting several hundred years every time, separated by quiescent intervals up to 3,000 years. The eruptions began 15,000 years ago, so as you can see, they're pretty young, and ended with the most recent so far eruptions only 2,100 years ago in craters of the moon. So can you imagine now living here, and that's about the time of Jesus Christ. 2,100 years ago is when this last erupted, from what they believe. So you can imagine living there and having this erupting around you. As we know, Yellowstone, this caldera formed around 640,000 years ago. Before that, it was 1.2 million years ago, and then 2.1 million years ago. But since the super eruption of 640,000 years ago, Yellowstone erupted, had a large lava eruption 70,000 years ago, and it's had another 80 eruptions since then. 80. So just about every 5 or 6,000 years, it erupts. Now, let's go back into some of the history of this. Oh, some more. Okay, the other 4 magnitude had 60 people reporting it. We could take a look at that. Shake map, shake intensity if you want. Did that also shake? Yellowstone, I would venture to say it did. Let's go back to this, the shake maps, the contours, okay. And go to the aerial. There's Hebgen Lake and Yellowstone Lake. And again, obviously, this is shaken again just 20 minutes apart from the other 4. Okay, this was at time was 8:15 UTC. Now, when we go into the quakes, you'll see something different. It's got a different time stamp. Okay, and go to the other one. The other one is, let's see, it has a different time stamp. Okay, this one was 8:15:23, and this one was 8:15:04. So it's just 20 seconds apart, not 20 minutes. 20 seconds apart. 20 seconds apart, not 20 minutes. That was my mistake, forgive me. Okay, just 20 seconds apart, and their locations were, I don't know how many miles, about 2 miles, this much, about a mile apart. Their locations were about a mile apart, then they had the 3 magnitude after that. And if we want to go into the shake map, no, they don't have, because it's too small. 3 people felt it, though. So we see that the recent quakes in northwestern U.S. in Idaho are so strong that popular beach along Stanley Lake has almost fully submerged, with after effects still occurring. It appears the northwestern U.S. state of Idaho has stopped shaking it has not stopped shaking since the 6.5 magnitude earthquake on March 31st that struck Sawtooth Mountain Ridge northeast of Boise, Idaho. And now these quakes that we saw today are Stanley. And it was incidentally the second largest earthquake to strike Idaho since the 1983 6.9 Bora Peak quake. Since the latest one, the area has experienced a string of aftershocks. They're still going on, some registering as 4.8 on the Richter scale magnitude. The persistent after effects have been so strong that a popular beach along Stanley Lake in Sawtooth National Recreation Park has sunk into the water. Now, the most probable cause of the disappearing of the inlet delta is a combination of liquefaction, which is like the ground acting like quicksand, so it sinks, and compaction of saturated sediments and some possible sliding and later spreading on the delta towards the deeper part of the lake. Claudio Berti, director and state geologist from Idaho Geological Survey, says in his statement May 9, with the aftershocks continuing further, reinvigorating seismologists' interest in the region, of course. Geologists are currently looking for clues to what exactly is causing an earthquake in the otherwise quiet area 16 miles north of Sawfoot Fault, which is a 40-mile stretch of fault line discovered nearly 10 years ago and since believed to be seismically inactive, so it's not inactive, it is active. While a number of scientists suspect the Sawtooth Fault is actually longer than assumed, according to popular mechanics, others suspect the fault is full-on taking advantage of opening the Earth's crust and is slowly proceeding northward. Other theories suggest that energy from the Sawtooth Fault could have jumped to nearby unknown faults, spawning the recent spate of earthquakes. The theory is scientific underpinnings, according to a 2009 paper in the journal Nature. Earthquakes that occur a long way from tectonic plate boundaries may actually be persistent aftershocks from bigger earthquakes from a distant past. Okay, that's fine. Okay, earthquakes don't just happen at the end of tectonic plates. They happen where magma is underneath. And you have deformation of the area. For example, Long Valley caldera is inflating because there's magma underneath. Okay, that's on the west coast. This thing here has magma underneath. We have a magma plume there. And it's the basin and range area of the United States, which is stretching. We know the Earth is growing at the rate of a fingernail every year, and the United States is also stretching and growing. We have magma under there, and it's stretching and growing. The area is stretching and growing. Just like the area around the Great Lakes has a horse-shaped magma plume, mantle plume, since about a billion years ago. That's Keweenaw Fault area. And that's the mid-continental rift. It's rifting. Now, the horse-shaped mantle, the western part goes into Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, and then makes a western turn into New Mexico. That's all magma under there. A lot of people in Kansas and Oklahoma, they hear these booming sounds. You've got volcanoes. Kansas has 15 volcanoes. And as we researched before, most of them are diamond-spewing precious stones, semi-precious stone gems coming from there, and they have to release gas. And this gas releasing is probably what's shaking their houses and causing booming sounds coming from under the earth. So it's not just at the tectonic plates, it's where you have stretching going on, rift valleys going on. So it's good that they're interested in these fault lines because they have to research what's going on there. Now, the theory has scientific underpinnings with these persistent aftershocks from bigger quakes from the distant past. They say it could be aftershocks. Now embarking on new missions to gather full seismic data and analyze local soil samples, researchers are set to use LIDAR, which is, as we know, top-notch technology, for estimating distances by illuminating targets with laser light, measuring the reflection with sensors to search for signs of movement, the deformation of the surface. Even though IDAHO is still experiencing shakes, with the state proved to be full of old seismic faults, it does not necessarily mean Yellowstone will face a new volcanic eruption anytime soon. Yellowstone caldera last erupted 70,000 years ago, with a lava eruption, 80 eruptions since then. Now, USGS Geological Survey says there have since been registered an eye-popping 10,000 magnitude 6 or higher earthquakes in the western swath of the country, with nothing close to the landmark supervolcano erupting or taking place in our time. USGS says Yellowstone has experienced 3 eruptions, 2.08, 1.3, and 600 million years ago, and 630 million years ago, 630,000 years ago, with an average of about 725,000 years between grand lava flows. And that being the case, we still have about 100,000 plus years to go until this could erupt with a super eruption. But volcanoes are volcanoes. We don't know what they're going to do or when. It depends on a lot of things. And from what Mike Poland, the geologist in charge of Yellowstone, tells us, that because of the 5.7 magnitude Salt Lake City, Utah quake on March 18 and the 6.5 magnitude Idaho quake on March 31st, he believes that it could have an impact on the change of the plumbing system of Yellowstone, that is having to do with the hydrothermal activity, that is the geysers, perhaps erupting more or less or more frequently, etc. So please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. This is from Sputnik News as well. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.